thank you again for being here. We are so grateful that you have logged on. This is a very, very important topic, especially for students, especially new students on campus. It's really very important to create that sense of belonging. My name is Dr. Margaret Bindio. I am one of the co-founders of the Academic Resilience Initiative here at Millersville University. And this is an initiative that helps students learn about, personal, academic, social issues that cannot be taught in a classroom. Mostly when you go to class, you are learning content for that particular course. But when you come in to join the academic resilience sessions, we are learning about, social, academic, sometimes how to mentor issues, how to, tackle things that are really problematic to our daily lives. And for today, we are going to talk and discuss a little bit about, creating a sense of belonging, which is really very important, especially when you are in a new place. When you're in a place where you don't know anyone. For most of our students, you stay in the dorms, you live in an apartment. Many students take time before they can connect with others, before they can connect with staff and faculty on campus. And that's why this is a very important session. We are going to start off by talking to one of our recently graduated seniors at Millersville. She is going to to discuss or to talk to us about how she was able to create that sense of belonging. And without further ado, I would like to invite my colleague, Dr. Ann Godino, to say something. Thank you, Ann.
Thank you all for joining with us this morning. I'm not in the office right now, so you could probably hear some background noise, but I'll turn it back to you, Dr. Margaret.
Awesome. So I would like to, we are waiting for two other panelists who are having some Zoom issues, but I would like us, instead of just sitting here waiting for them, because Victoria is here and has been a great supporter of the Academic Resilience Initiative here on campus. She recently graduated from Millersville, and I would like Victoria to tell us a little bit about what she does here, because she's one of the staff members employed at Millersville. Thank you, Victoria. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Margaret. So a little bit about me. I work currently in University Communications and Marketing, which is on Duncan Alumni House or on George Street, as a digital media specialist, which just means anything video, photography, editing, just helping to tell the Ville story. So that's a little bit about what I do.
Awesome, awesome. I would like to ask you the first question, and actually before I ask you that question, I see that one of our panelists has joined us. Bill, I don't know whether you can hear me.
And you're gonna need to make him a co-host, please. Thank you, Dr. Lindy.
Okay, yes, yeah, she is. He's already a co-host. Well, as we wait for Bill to organize himself, I would like to ask you the first question, especially because you are a former student of Millersville, having started as a freshman. How were you involved and how did you get connected here at Millersville, Victoria?
Yeah, so I was involved in a few things. I entered into the college in the University Honors College. So I got a little bit involved through that. I became a resident assistant in my sophomore year, and I started joining clubs just kind of based on my interests, with the mindset of just trying new things. So I tried Minithon, and then I went more into my interest in different video production clubs on campus, just trying to meet people and see where I could find people to connect to while also doing things that I really enjoy.
Awesome. And what kind of clubs were you involved in? Because we know that, finding clubs and organizations is really important. I tell my students, that's the place to make friends. You go in, you find people that have the same interests as you, and you start attending clubs and organizations, and you really connect with those people that you find there. What clubs were you involved in?
Yeah, so I moved through MUTV and also Marauder Video Productions, which all encompasses what I do now, which is video production. So I was involved in those clubs, and it was really great to stay after class and talk to people who were in my classes and work on something that we all enjoyed and connected on. And we all had a passion for just creating content and creating content together. So it was super helpful in making friends and finding people who enjoyed the same things that I did.
One thing here at Millersville that is really important, especially for the Department of Involvement, getting students involved, is that they have created fairs. Like a few weeks ago, we had a big fair on campus with all sorts of organizations, with all sorts of clubs, with people there to explain, especially to our, freshman students and transfer students, even students on campus that have been here and were not aware that, certain clubs were here. So here at Millersville, we are very big on making sure that we we market the clubs and organizations that are here on campus. And I have had the pleasure of meeting with a few freshmen, in a seminar setting. And my first question that week was, did you attend the fair? And quite a number of them had attended and were already considering joining the organizations and joining the clubs. And I really hope that our students that are tuned in today have already, requested, or maybe have already found out, have already inquired what kind of organizations, what kind of clubs exist here. And the main reason behind that is to make sure that our students are connected and find a place in Millersville. Why is it so crucial for students to have a sense of belonging in your own view?
From my perspective, I think it's important that students find a sense of belonging because it gives purpose to the things that you do, and it gives you a support group. It gives you people to fall back on through good and bad times and kind of just experience not only the school life, but the social life after that, and really make your college experience worthwhile and meaningful. So that's why I would think that finding a sense of belonging, finding a place on campus is crucial for all those different reasons.
Very good. I have another question for you. In what ways could we as a community, in your own view, enhance the sense of belonging at Millersville? As a community, and the community of Millersville has so many people. We have, of course, we have students, we have faculty, we have staff. We have people that come here. They are working in different departments. They are working, in the dorms. There are all sorts of people here. How do we get them involved in creating a sense of belonging for students?
I think the biggest thing that we can continue to do, which I think we already do with things like this, is just to take special intention to promote and encourage students to get involved on campus. And that could be by doing something like this. And it could also be by a professor or a staff member just saying, hey, get involved. Here's why it's important. Here's why I can help you not only in the classes, but also socially and with your time at Millersville. But I think even just as a student, taking note of like when you can talk to a fellow student or a fellow friend and say, hey, I would really enjoy your time in this club, or you should totally think about participating in this, and just continue to invite students to get involved and encourage and say, hey, here is my experience. I think you would really enjoy it too. So just taking note of the students that like you can invite to things.
Awesome. And now I'm going to turn my focus on Bill. Bill, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. Can you introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us what you do, and then I'm going to ask you a few questions.
Yeah, certainly. So so what I do is I work in occupational safety and environmental health. I actually just starting up a new job here next week at the University of Pittsburgh as an environmental health and safety specialist. So primarily what you do in that type of field, that type of in that type of a career work, is you are working in any form of workplace. I mean, it's primarily in settings such as, manufacturing, warehousing. You can have, there's the university element that you can get into, consulting, et cetera, where what you're doing is you are trying to make a workplace as basically as healthy and safe as possible for individuals to be working in. So basically this entails anything that has to do with OSHA and OSHA law and governance, environmental protection, a little bit of hazardous material transport, a bunch of different things. So that's primarily what I do. I got my degree from Millersville in occupational safety and environmental health. And also I got also an associate's in technology as well in my time at Millersville.
Awesome. And welcome back. We are so grateful you have found time to talk to us about your experiences here at Millersville University. We are very, very grateful. And Bill, I'm going to ask you a question. How did you get involved and how did you get connected here at Millersville, especially when you are new as a freshman?
Mm-hmm. So for me, I had originally started out at Penn State, and I later on came to Millersville. But so for me, when I got involved at Millersville, the things that I found were really getting involved in study groups, clubs that are kind of aligned with your interests. One of the big clubs the two of the clubs that I was in was the one for Share Meals. Was actually the president of Share Meals for a while. And then also getting involved in the local ASSP club chapter for Millersville, which ASSP is American Society of Safety Professionals. And then just using that to sort of grow and get more connected with people, find others who have like kind of a similar like interest and so on.
Thank you so much. So greatly appreciated. And I wonder, Bill and Victoria, was it hard the first time being freshmen? Was it really hard to connect with people on campus? And how did you overcome that challenge?
Bill, do you want to take this or do you want me to speak?
I can go first if you'd like.
Go ahead.
So when I was initially a freshman, and again, this is when I was at Penn State. I will be honest. It is difficult to sort of get yourself out there, get out and talk to other individuals and such. But what I did, at least in my freshman year, is I kind of found like a decent little ragtag group of friends, people who I was dorming with, and from there I kind of got. I don't want to say it this way, but it could kind of get dragged along to different, whether it be social events, study groups, et cetera, et cetera. So for me, it kind of happened by, I guess, happenstance. But, I think the important part is, whatever direction you may go with finding, say, your support group or your involvement group, I think, you never know quite which way it'll go, but I think the important thing is just getting yourself out there, and, meeting people, connecting with people, and so on.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate. One thing that I tell students to do is to look out for one another. Look out for a student that is just walking alone, is sitting alone in the dining, in the class, and strike up a relation, a conversation with them. Say good morning. A smile goes a long way, especially for students that are new on campus. And I always tell my students, look out, be very intentional when you go to the dining. Be very intentional when you are in class, and look out for students that are just quiet. I understand a student may not just want to be bothered, but try, just try. A smile does not cost anything. The first few weeks, the first few months, the first semester can be very difficult for some students, depending on where they are coming from. Some of them are coming from 100 miles away. Some of them are coming from out of state. We have international students on campus who don't know anyone. Their family or people they know are out there, and they are waiting and looking for someone to love on them, someone to be warm to them, someone to be welcoming. And I believe if we work as a Millersville community with that in mind, I think we are going to lessen the burden of feeling lonely. Nobody wants to feel lonely. Nobody wants to feel like they don't belong. I think we as a community can create a safe space for all of us to feel like this is a place we belong. And I think that is what Millersville intends to do. That is what we can all join to do to make this place a better place and a safe place for all of us. My next question: what advice would you give to undergraduate students who are struggling socially? And this is not, this question is very important. I've had students that came to me and said, Dr. Mbintio, it's so hard to make, to connect. I don't know what to do. I'm actually lonely. I've had students come to me and, to say that. And sometimes I feel sad, because I can only do so much, as an adult in their life who is supporting them. So can you please tell us, what advice would you give to undergraduate students, freshmen who are struggling socially?
I could talk a little bit on this. I feel like you would be so surprised at how kind people are. That was one of the reasons that I came here, is because I stepped foot on campus and everybody was so friendly. And I was definitely one of those people who was intimidated by talking to people. And I think I've always been that way my whole life. And I ended up surrounding myself with friends who are much more outgoing than I am, who really encouraged me to go to different events and participate on campus. But it can be as simple as you're in class and you say hello to the person who sits down next to you, or the thing that Dr. Nvidio said about going into the dining hall and just taking note of who might be sitting alone, say, hey, is the seat taken? Can I sit here? Or even just going to Starbucks and asking a student worker, hey, what do you recommend? And trying to start the conversation. People are so surprisingly friendly. So my advice would just be keep going, keep striking up conversations. It ends up becoming a lot easier and so much more rewarding and fulfilling than you might think.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Bill, would you like to add something?
I would just say that I would definitely have to agree. I think the other thing that I would just remind anyone too is you might not necessarily hit it up with every single person or every single group that you may get involved with, but I think the really important thing is, especially if you are feeling lonely, I know it can feel a bit intimidating if you don't maybe hit it off in a club or a group. But the biggest thing I would always emphasize is just make sure you just keep trying. You eventually you will find a group of people, especially like a place like Millersville. People there, as Victoria has said, it is, people there are very friendly. If you do reach out and you talk, you will find a good group to be in and won't maybe feel as lonely.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. This is really so grateful. I mean, so greatly appreciated. And I know students in attendance here, are gaining a lot from just your experiences and what you're saying. Now, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about academics. Because, this time of the semester, by this time, this is the 4th week, going to the 5th week, time has just gone so fast. And especially for our freshmen, it's a different ballgame when it comes to academics. It's a different rigor. Academic rigor is different. Expectations are different. Freshmen are a little bit more, they have the freedom because they are not at home, they're in the dorm. It is expected that they are self-regulating themselves to go to class, to attend, because it is against academic policy for students not to attend class. So we are beginning to see this time of the year quite a number of early alerts. And of course, for freshmen, even for other students that are here or that were here last year, transfer students and so on. This is an alert that is given for a student that is struggling in one way or another in class. Maybe they are not attending. The professor will issue an early alert. Maybe they are not submitting assignments on time. The professor will notify, will send a notification in the system that the student is not submitting assignments and so on. So what advice can you give to students to continue remaining, academically engaged? How can they continue to be academically resilient to a point where they are successful at the end of this semester? Let's start with you, Victoria.
Oh my gosh, wait, Phil, do you have something to say? I'm trying to formulate my thoughts.
I can go first if you'd like. I think I have a few things. So there was a saying that I had heard really fairly early on within my freshman year, and that is, you don't want to go into your freshman year and treat it like it's 13th grade, right? So I think the important thing that I really found was, first of all, you since you're kind of more out on your own, and your class schedule isn't as, maybe it's not as like consistent. You're not going to school from 8:30 to 3:30 or 4:30 every single day. You have classes throughout the day. You have free time in between. Is just organizing and prioritizing your time. So I think the first thing that really is important is at least I think is important, is always make it a point to attend all your classes, even if you're like, oh gosh, I'm so tired, or I'm not really feeling it. It's really, really important to always go to the classes. I think that's really a very good bedrock to start with. Second thing is, and this is one that I didn't learn until a little bit later on, is, and I'm sure Dr. Mabino and Dr. Gaudino will appreciate, is go to office hours. I know it feels a little bit strange to be going and seeing your professors outside of their normal class hours, but I always found that for me, when even if I maybe thought I got a subject, or if I had just a little bit of a question on something, I'd be like, well, I'll just figure it out on my own. I'm going to tell you, your professors already know all your questions, and they will be more than willing and able to help you, especially at a place like Millersville. So really always utilize your office hours. You don't have to go to them every single week, but always make sure you go and do that. In addition, just making sure that you always want to prioritize the different things that you need to do throughout your academic week. So if you have exams, you always want to I felt it's always important to prioritize those over most everything else, because usually those are weighted the most heavily. You're not. It depends on the class, but always making sure that you're doing exams, always making sure you're doing your homework, or outside of class work, always staying ahead as well. There's a lot of, I've seen a lot of people fall in the trap where you think well, if I put this off until like the last day, I can just kind of pull an all-nighter and get it done. And I'm going to tell you from personal experience that it doesn't always work out that way. So I always recommend it's like, make sure that you are staying ahead of time, get stuff done at least 1 or 2 days early if you can. But also, I think another important thing is have some fun as well. Get out, go have fun, socialize, get some exercise. You want to have some fun. You are there ultimately to study, get a degree and so on, but also go out, enjoy, have fun, spend time with people. I think that's really, really key to doing well academically.
Awesome. Victoria.
Yeah, okay, so I have a few thoughts. So I agree with everything that Bill said, and one way that I kept myself organized and together as much as possible, especially when you have clubs and classes and work, is I found it very helpful. This is not good for everybody, but I scheduled out every single hour of my day. So currently I have over here, oh no, it's not going to focus. Okay, well, I have a bullet journal and it has my schedule of the meetings I need to go to. And it also has my to-do list. And I don't write out everything that I need to do on my to-do list that's for the week. I only write out what I want to accomplish that day. And if I get to other things, great. And if I don't, that's totally okay. And I schedule in time for myself to take a break as well. So that was a huge thing that I had to learn. I would try to book all of my time as much as I could to do homework and things, and then I would feel burnt out. And when I started to look at it as, wow, this looks daunting, but if I start scheduling in an hour to just take a break and breathe and go on that walk or go to the gym or just do anything, just watch TV and just chill, those things made my task list look a little bit less daunting. So my advice would be to make yourself a list, find what works for you, whether it's a bullet journal or a planner or just simply on your phone writing in notes app what you need to do that day. And I also remember looking at my syllabus and planning out when my heavy weeks were going to be for workload and school and trying to plan around those things too. So that would be my advice, is like, look at everything, talk to your professors, like Bill said, when you don't know something, or your classmates, somebody has the answer and you're not alone. I forget what other parts of this question were there, but just seeking help from your friends, from your professors, scheduling time for yourself, whether it's homework or breaks, all of those things were super important to staying on track, at least for me.
That's fantastic. Bill and Victoria, one thing that I always tell my students, especially the freshmen, is the earlier they position themselves for success, the better. And then the question comes in when I say that, how do we do that? And I tell them, positioning yourself for success is actually not hard. One way a student can position themselves for success is identifying where to sit in a classroom. If you're right there in front, you will not be tempted to look at your phone. But if you are sitting right behind there where the professor is not even seeing, you can easily remove your phone and just start doing your own things. Another way that I tell students to position themselves for success is and someone mentioned this earlier, is in, utilizing the professor's office hours. And especially when you are new on campus, you've never met this professor, just going in there and introducing yourself. Hey, my name is Victoria, and I just came to say hi. I'm one of your students in your class, and I'm really liking your class. It takes guts to do that, but that is a way of positioning yourself. And so you, as a student, you have to identify what do you do to position yourself for success in that class, or even in all classes. And I wonder, Bill and Victoria, what are some of the strategies you used when you were at Millersville to position yourself for success?
I was gonna say, I think you actually touched on a really good one, is sitting either in the front row, maybe if you don't feel like the front row, at least within the front side of the classroom, or if you're in a lecture hall. I think Miller's only has a couple of them, but if you're in a lecture hall, sitting more towards the front, because you may not realize it at first, but being in towards the back does distract you a lot. And I know it kind of, especially when you're in a new environment, such as being at a university, it might feel more comfortable being in the back because you're not quite right in the maybe say line of fire or line of sight of your professor, but you will find yourself being able to pay attention a lot better. And I think just the other thing that I would make mention of as well is, again, is just to touch on it once again, is utilizing professors' office hours and utilizing study groups wherever you may be able to find them. And if you can't find one, you can always reach out to people around you and try to make one. So I think that those are really, really big keys, especially in a university setting.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Greatly appreciated. Victoria.
Yeah, so some of the things that I did to set myself up for success, again, was probably just scheduling out my days. But I also think, to everyone's point of seeing, like, sitting in front of the class, but also realizing things like, how do you learn the best? Is it by sitting in front of the class, or do you need to sit next to your friend who is very helpful and can explain the notes to you? Or do you need to learn how to take notes in a way that is helpful to you? Are you a morning person or a night person? Scheduling your classes around whether you learn the best in the night or the morning. And I think also raising your hand, as scary as that might be, somebody also probably has the same question as you. So those types of things of, like, making sure that you're getting the answers that you need from a class, making sure you are clear on assignments as much as possible, scheduling things out, knowing how you learn. And it's an ongoing process to learn how you learn, but it's so important. I think what also helped set me up for success was, this is a hard thing for a perfectionist and someone who's trying to, like, work so hard to get everything done, to say, but learning when to say no. And setting yourself up for, like, hey, I only have time for these things and I want to do these things well. Sometimes I just need to say no to the extra thing because I need to get this done. It's good for me mentally. It's good for me academically. I want to spend my time on this work. And so those things, knowing when to say no, giving myself the space to learn and knowing what I needed to do that, and giving myself the grace to say, okay, this didn't work out. Let's try something new. And that's okay that it didn't work out. Those things set me up for success.
Thank you, Victoria. And I think you mentioned a very, very important point, learning to say no. We are in a university where, especially for students, there is a lot of pressure to go to places, to do things with peers, to be involved in things that do not concern you at all, at the cost of your assignment. And so it's so important to know what you need as a student, and to politely just say no. I would rather you say no, go back to your apartment or go back to the dorm and complete your assignment rather than saying yes and you still don't have your assignment done. What happened? What happens if that is the case? And so what you've said is very important, learning how to say no. In fact, the sooner you learn how to say no, the better. Yes, Victoria is giving me the thumbs up. The sooner you learn how to say no, the better. That is the only way you can be productive. Remember, you are here. Your parents are expecting that you are no longer going to even consult with them for the smallest things. It's time for you now to start, regulating yourself. It's time for you to start making decisions for your success. And so learning to say no is a very, very important part of academic success. And at this point, I would like to welcome Baron. Baron was running late because he had something come up very urgently, and he said that he was still going to make it. Baron, can you please introduce yourself to everybody?
Can you guys hear me good?
We can.
Okay. Everyone, I'm Baron Jackson Jr. I was at Millersville for a very long time. I started in 2013. I graduated 2018 with 2 bachelor's degrees, one in anthropology, one in communication. I came back to get my master's and I completed that in 2021, May of last year, in social work. And I'm a Philadelphia native, football player. I was running late. I was frequent for that when I was the undergrad. Uh, I mean, I'm a product. If I'm being honest, I'm a product of a lot of favors and people seeing potential in me when I didn't see it in myself. Um, I was able to meet Professor Margaret. I was able to meet you at the gym, and then met you on campus, right? And I was able to connect with Dwight Horsey and Justin Garcia, Dr. Garcia, and had it not been for those 2 gentlemen, I probably don't complete my undergrad because when I arrived at Millersville, my father died maybe that same year. He died maybe 5 to 6 months after I got to Millersville. So as soon as I got there, tragedy hit me like right away. And I was forced to be an adult while still being a child, like because 18, 19, you may be an adult, but you're not an adult yet. Life ain't done much to you at all. So trying to juggle that while play football and be a halfway decent student was tough, but connecting with those gentlemen very early was important. Knowing that I didn't know a lot was important, and knowing when to shut up was even more important because it was just so many natural things that had I not been able to shake those things, and my cat is harassing me right now. I'm sorry, guys. Had I not been able to shake those things, I wouldn't be here today. Um, and so I'm just a product of people seeing potential in me when I didn't see it in myself and following through when given opportunities. Uh, I've gotten scholarships because I got a scholarship one time because no one applied for it, and I knew, and one of my mentors knew the person that said, "Baron, apply for the scholarship." And because no one applied, it was a bunch of money left. So again, just knowing people is like huge. Connecting, talking, saying hi to people. Some of us are from places like Philly where you don't say hi to everybody. You just keep it moving. So when you get to school, just saying hi to people or going to the outreach events. I know they seem corny to some of us, but they were huge. Um, like my internship became my job. Like I directly left graduate school and went right to a job because of the internship. And those things seem cliche. It seems like that's a brochure speaking, but no, that's real. That's what it is. And every facet of life is about connection. It's about who you know. It's what you know is important as well because what you know will keep you there, or who you know will sometimes get you to the door. Um, and once you get to the door, then it's time to execute and show up. Um, so I mean, it's man, Millersville's been integral. Like I was able to see how you maintain relationships as an adult, um, and the most important lesson I will say is that when I graduated, I thought, oh, I got my master's degree. I made it, right? And most people back home was like, you made it. But then you realize that the work is more work. It doesn't end. You keep working. You keep working, you keep making mistakes, you keep learning, and you're never going to have it all figured out. I still call my mom to this day. Hey mom, how do I do this? How do I write a check? Because I'm not used to how do I write a check to pay rent? Like just little things like that. Like life doesn't stop. You keep dealing with life. And because of my experience at Millersville, because of meeting certain professors and those connections, I'll be pursuing my PhD in a year. So it's just that I became addicted to learning and improving. And I hope that you guys, when you get to Millersville, you do as well. You don't have to go get a master's. You don't have to do all those things, but you're here. You started your journey. So if you're going to start the journey, I live by a motto, rest at the end and not the middle. So if you're going to start it, finish it. You ain't got to finish in that same major. You don't got to finish with the same any of that. You can change that up because you'll realize you have different passions. But if you're going to start it, you're going to take out that loan, that unsub, which incurs interest. You're going to take out those loans. Then you need to go ahead and finish, because once you start it, you're going to be better with it than without it.
Thank you so much, Jackson. And again, I'm so sorry for what you went through as a freshman. That is very, very hard to go through, but I'm so proud of you. You persevered, you were resilient. You graduated Millersville with 2 degrees. Not very many students do that. And therefore, you went through a lot, but you did well at the end of the day, and you succeeded and you graduated, came back for a master's, and here you are encouraging students. And we cannot be more proud. We are very proud of you, and thank you. Thank you again for showing up. And one thing that I'm very interested in hearing from you, Baron, is before we take students' questions, how did you get connected? I know you talked about 2 adults that you connected with. You asked questions from your professors, but how did you connect, as a freshman among, your peers? How did you connect?
Well, with my peers, it was a lot of competing. We played video games together. We studied together. Um, Obviously, when I was a freshman, there was no COVID, so we were in each other's dorms all the time, and we actually would go to like dinner and lunch, at least 10 of us. So it was a lot of we traveled in like packs, and so that allowed me to, excuse me, Kat, not right now. That allowed me to connect with people who weren't from my area. That allowed me to connect with different people with different upbringings and different cultures. In terms of the professors and the staff members, that was important because I go back to when my father passed. Because when he was around, I felt like I didn't need nobody. So but when he passed, I went into the financial aid office and I explained my story. I said, "Look, I need some money for some books. I'm struggling right now. I just lost my father." And then Miss Abby then directed me to Dwight maybe 2 days later. I met Dwight and he was like, "Look, Baron, I know you're talking about your sister and your family, but what about you? Because you got to take care of you." And then he introduced me to MCM and I connected with them right away. And within that organization, we had so many outreach events where we started meeting different staff members. Uh, we met oh my God, we met the president, Dr. Wuba, the president before him. We met all these people up close and personal because he made it his mission for us to connect with various staff members. It was important to do that. And when we got a chance to, we would ask all kinds of questions. Why does the food suck? Why is this? Why is that? Why do we keep losing football games? We went different coach. Dwight created an environment we were allowed to do that. And those relationships were carried me through getting a grad assistantship, which if you do go to grad school, look for grad assistantships because they help pay for your tuition. And I was able to get a grad assistantship through all these relationships, scholarship, even opportunities after school with jobs. It was just so many, just because people knew you. Just because people knew you, you smiled in their face, you spoke to them, you were respectful. Just because of those things, you were given opportunities. Now, again, You gotta bust your tail, you gotta work your tail off, and that way the skills will maintain your position that you were given and allow you to elevate. But just the connection alone will get you in so many places that you had no idea about. Because all the students that Dwight was close to, if you look around campus, I'm an example, I'm here, right? But if you look around campus, you'll see their pictures. You'll see their pictures. You talk to professors, you'll hear stories. Like all those students, all of them stood out in one way or another. And again, it went back to the connection. So it's important to just smile and say hi. Like it's not, I'm telling you, no one's gonna hurt you. Like this is not Philly, this is not DC, it's not New York, not Baltimore. No one's gonna hurt you. Hey, how you doing? Like the more you do that, the easier the success will come on campus. Because life happens. Life doesn't happen. If somebody's sick back home, they may not make it. That was my father. Life is gonna happen. You will need that support at some point down the road. No one does it on their own.
Thank you. We have a very important question by one of our students, and she is saying that the semester starts off very well, but by mid-semester, she experiences a burnout. How do you stay motivated throughout? Can you share some ideas?
Discipline, study groups, because one of you are in that group. If there's a group of 5, one of you will feel burnt out, maybe 2, 3 of you will feel burnt out. But someone's going to remind you, hey, we have this exam due, right? Also, like you talked about it earlier, giving yourself some grace, giving yourself some space. So you're going to have to have something you can do. So on a Saturday night, go hang out with friends, go get dinner, something. You have to have something that can pull you away from your studies, because if you're in your books 24/7, you will burn out. That's just going to happen. So you have to have something that can pull you away. But the most important thing is block out certain time, block out certain days. The young lady who was just speaking earlier, I'm sorry, I don't want to butcher your name. Is it Victoria?
Victoria.
You got it.
Yes, ma'am. Well, she said that, and she was 100% correct. Find out what kind of study you are. Are you good at night, or are you good during the day? I had a classmate, actually he was in my same organization. He would put tape on the timer on his laptop so he couldn't see it. He would just work. That's all he would do. That worked for him. It wouldn't work for me because I collapsed on the laptop. But you got to find your way. You have to find what's comfortable for you and efficient, because sometimes what's comfortable is sleeping. Obviously, that's not the most efficient for school. So you got to find that combination, that balance of what's more comfortable and efficient. For me, it was important to have study groups because it was mandatory with football. It was also important to utilize my planner. And did I miss my planner some days? Absolutely. But I will always have the big dates and big assignments listed, and trust me, I've done it. 10-page paper due, I wait 3 days before to do it. So don't do that part. I would say if you have a 10-page paper due and you have a month to do it, you should probably start within that first week at some point. That way, by the time it's time to do it, you only probably got maybe 3 pages left, or you do it early and get your professor to look at it beforehand. But you just have to find your regimen, because it's going to be different for everybody. Find your regimen, maybe find some study groups, and then stick to that, because that'll keep you disciplined when you when you lose motivation or you're feeling fatigued.
Thank you very much. Bill and Victoria, would you like to add something?
I'll let Bill speak.
The thing that I would add, oh, sorry, you can go ahead, Victoria. Oh, okay. I think the big thing that I would add that I always did was every semester, I would always try to align, when I was going in and scheduling classes, I would always try to line things up in a way where I would have at least one day per week where I didn't have any classes whatsoever, outside of just, Saturday and Sunday. Now, that's not always, you're not always able to do that, but I always think that just having one, if you're not able to take one day where you're not having any class, at least a day where your class schedule is light, just that way you can have that time to spend to yourself. Just that way, because I think that it's really, really important, as Jackson had said, you don't want to just bury your heads in your book 24/7. You don't want to just be going, from your books to your job and then to sleep. It is really, really important that you just find time yourself and that you stay regimented. You get ahead on whatever it is that you're working on, because for me, what it always felt like is, the first week or two at school, everything's kind of a bit light. Then work starts to pile on, and then by mid-semester, it's like it's like you really want a break, right? And I think this is actually a point that Victoria had mentioned earlier, was digging into the syllabi and seeing when are certain things due, when are certain exams going to be, and then just really trying to regiment yourself, plan yourself out that way from there.
And I had something to add. I'm going to try to keep it short and concise because I think that Baron and Bill did a great job at explaining what I was going to say. But basically, feel free to chip away at things. Say I'm going to spend a half an hour on this and just see where I get, and that's totally okay. Remember why you started. So have that goal in mind, and also feel free to be like, okay, I'm going to get through all this hard stuff, and then I'm going to reward myself at the end. So give yourself that thing, like I'm going to take myself to dinner, or me and my friends to dinner at the end of this semester because I did it. There's an end. And know also that sometimes done is better than perfect. That was a huge thing in my head when I was a student, because I was currently now a recovering perfectionist, but like sometimes just getting it done and being okay with it and submitting it, at the end of the day, you have the weight off your shoulders. It's done. You've learned throughout the process of doing it. And that's what means the most, is the fact that you took something from the assignment that you did. So knowing done is better than perfect, giving yourself the grace to complete an assignment, even if it's not to the perfect standard that you would like it to be, because at the end of the day, as long as you learn something and you can use that knowledge in your future, in your career, you're going to get through it and you can reward yourself at the end.
Thank you so much, Victoria. We are just about to wind down, and we have a question from a student who posted the question as anonymous, and she's a freshman, and she's asking, how many hours per week do you recommend for studying, especially for freshmen?
We're going to assume you have a full caseload. I mean, a caseload. See, I'm talking like I'm at work. We're going to assume you have a full schedule, right? Like you have 4 to 5 classes.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough one because it does go individual to individual. It does vary. But I would say you should probably be studying at least 2 hours a day, Monday through Friday, at least 2 hours a day. You don't want to overdo it because you're overload. You don't want to overload, because if you overload, you'll get to burnout, and that's not good. So you want to devote a certain amount of time per day, whatever that may look like. Victoria just said, done is better than perfection. Yes, I agree, 1000%, because I'm a perfectionist and I get so caught up on it looking a certain way. So it's more important to just get the job done. You could maybe take 30 minutes on one subject, 30 minutes on another, just little refreshers. Because if you take notes throughout class, then you can look over your notes quickly, 30 minutes or so, or you can devote a day out for one subject, a day out for another subject. Just divide up however you choose to do it. And if you are struggling taking notes on your own, I was a note taker. So you can request a note taker in classes. You can request one. They will pay them, and they'll email you notes and things of that nature. But you don't have to overdo it. You don't have to crash out on Saturday or Sunday. You can do it Monday a little bit, Tuesday a little bit, Wednesday. And by the time Saturday and Sunday roll around, you done already accumulated a bunch of information and study time. So that's what I would do. That's what I did during my like my junior year when I started really focusing in.
Thank you so much. Any one of you wants to add something?
I think what I would add to that as well, I think Jackson said it well, it does vary a lot from person to person, and it varies from class to class. There may be some classes that you have where you find that you can be more or less proficient on the information or the subject material within an hour studying, and some it may take far, far longer. I think what's really important is, again, I think Victoria and Jackson said this perfectly. Focus on it being done, not necessarily being perfect. You want to get yourself to a point where you are proficient. So, that could look that the amount of hours really, really can vary. It depends on, it really depends so much on what the course material is and how comfortable you feel with it.
Awesome. Well, we have come to the end, and I would like to turn this time to my colleague, Dr. Ann Godino. I just want to thank you so much for being here. Ann, please take it away. Thank you.
Thanks to our three panelists so much. I apologize for the background noise. I'm actually having my car done. It's taken much longer than I expected. And so I'm at a car dealership right now. But thank you so much. It was so good to hear from you as recent graduates and ones who have gone through this, not only now, but in the pandemic as well. And it's good for our students to hear your voices, having done this so recently. So thank you so much. To everyone who's joined us, I just request that you keep an eye on the MVille Daily for the next Academic Resilience series. We do these once a month. They're at Thursday, they're at 12 noon. They're always at Zoom. And we would love to have you join us. If you do happen to miss one, make sure that you check out the webpage. All you have to do is search Academic Resilience Series on the Millersville webpage, and it will take you to that and the recording of these sessions as well. Thank you, and I'll turn it back to Dr. Margaret.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We are so grateful that you showed up. And this brings us to the end of our first academic resilience session. I really hope that you gained something from this discussion. And please go out there and make connections. It's up to you to really make it work. Thank you and have a great day. Thank you, Jackson. Thank you, Bill. Thank you,
Thank you.
Victoria. That was awesome.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thanks for the
Thank
opportunity.
you.